I invite you to take a deep breath in and to exhale, allowing yourself to settle into a moment of spiritual practice. And if it feels comfortable to let your eyes close, then please do that. As you become aware with me of the stillness at the center of your being. And know with me that there is only one creative power active in creation, the living Spirit Almighty. This one is in and through all that is. We call it first cause, the first cause of all that is seen and all that is yet to be seen. It is forever creating from itself, and I am part of its creative process. We are part of its creative process. And even though I speak this in the first person, it is available for anyone who identifies with it. I realize that through my freedom and creativity, choice and vision, I am contributing to the direction that creative energy flows. So today, as a steward of the Center for Spiritual Living Santa Rosa, I open my consciousness to the flow of the one creative principle through me. Its infinite wisdom guides me. Its dynamic love inspires me. In this moment, I am remembering that the work of our center, which is an idea born in the mind of the Creative One, that the work of our center has already touched the lives of thousands of people in its 65 years, through its teaching and support and its ministries. And this ripples out into the world and continues to do so even now, changing more and more lives for the good. I accept for our center and its community a new wave of enthusiasm and engagement and growth. I know that the center is right now attracting people who are perfectly matched to what is here for their heart's journey. And that a new light is being held up like a lamp to guide our way and the way to us. Today, I am particularly calling into mind and into my heart the inhabitants of Joe Rodota Trail, our neighbors. I trust my heart's direction when it comes to supporting the world, growing my own consciousness, and deepening my compassionate heart and the compassionate heart of our community. I trust my intuitive connection to the divine when I'm deciding what is next for me to do. I trust my vision to guide me every step of the way, and I trust the creative process that is even now flowing through these words, through our thoughts and feelings, into form. And having set forth this idea into divine mind in the form of this heartfelt prayer, this spiritual mind treatment, I know it is now time to release it and to accept the results as if they are already established. Ask and it shall be given. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door shall be opened. So I rejoice in what we have done together in mind. And I rejoice in the good pleasure that delivers to us that which we have conceived of and prayed on. And for that reason we say together, and so it is. And again, another breath in. And a sigh. Take some time to thank the band and Chris Ritchie for setting us up so beautifully. Across Highway 12, the bushes and growth have been cleared away. It was done a week ago. And now the unsheltered encampment can be seen there in stark reality. A few weeks ago, I mentioned the organization online givinginkind.com, where if you search for Santa Rosa, you'll find Sonoma County Acts of Kindness, where they have an online scheduling system organizing meal drop-offs for the unsheltered. Individuals and faith communities are signing up there to drop off meals. Turns out that there are over 170 inhabitants there, and feeding that many people can be overwhelming for one person, to say the least. And not only that, there is much disagreement in our county about how to address this situation. Now, whatever your position is on the unsheltered, whether you think the city or faith communities should do something about it, or whether you think individuals ought to do something about it, or whether you think underfunded, understaffed agencies should be supported to do what they know to do best. Let us put it all aside for a moment, because the fact is, there they are, almost on our doorstep. Now, I understand the frustration and the pushback from concerned people about the potential of supporting an unsustainable situation. I have some conflicted feelings myself from our property being broken into and having property destroyed and having bikes and statues stolen from our parking lot and from inside our building, and from retrieving those items from the encampment. We're impacted too. And it's happening on our doorstep. I'm a cyclist too, and I've had items thrown at me on that path, and so I no longer bike on it. And still, I can't do nothing. I can't ignore what I have learned in Science of Mind at the center. Here I learned something, and it's a phrase perhaps you will recognize. It goes like this: principle is not bound by precedent. And in this case, it suggests to me that I ought not to let my past wounds control my current decisions and my future actions. I'm thinking of the words of the song that Chris sang to us several weeks ago by Jana Stanfield. It says, "I cannot do all the good the world needs me to do, but the world needs all the good I can do." So although we do not know what the physical solution is, we are going to claim a spot on that online planner and feed some people. And we're going to begin today by collecting donations of money. We aren't collecting anything else. And if you don't want to participate in it, that's perfectly all right. There'll be no judgment or pressure to do it. This is for those who want to participate. And if you do want a more hands-on engagement, I don't recommend you go it alone. You can put your name down on the sign-up form in the social hall, and we will contact you with suggestions and ways to participate with other people who can coordinate, who are closer to the project and know their way around. Now, some say that partnering with severely underfunded and understaffed community agencies that have familiarity with the population is the best way to go. Now, at the Center for Spiritual Living, if you've been here for a while, you know that we already have a history of supporting nonprofit organizations who are doing work in the world that we are not skilled enough to do. And we have been doing that for 16 years. Some people are concerned that issues such as mental health and severe addiction to methamphetamine cannot be solved easily through random volunteering and donations, and may even cause things to get worse. Some people are concerned that generosity and compassion will be taken advantage of by people who are not motivated to leave the encampment. Nevertheless, there are people who are living on that trail who are not addicts and who are not criminals, but who are caught in life traps that are difficult for them to escape from. Now, if you've ever been low on resources and someone helped you out, then you already know the power of loving kindness. I have never been homeless, but I have lived very close to the edge of not having enough to pay for anything other than my rent. And that was terrifying. And if it had not been for the kindness of others and what I learned in a Center for Spiritual Living, who knows what might have become of me. One of the projects worth mentioning is SAVS. It stands for Sonoma Applied Village Services, and their motto is Shelter with Dignity. SAVS is working in encampments throughout Sonoma County to provide as much basic stability as they can by providing such services as case management, donation distribution, wellness checks, basic applications for things like ID and Social Security, and connecting people like veterans and women to support services. And I believe this is the organization that provided porta potties for the trail to address the very urgent concern of sanitation. They can be found at sonomavillages.org. Now, if today you are called to make a donation, please do so in the social hall. There is a table there. We are not receiving donations of any other kind. And depending on what we receive in donations, we will both schedule a meal drop-off and also make a donation to an agency that is skilled in working in this situation with this population. And then the following weeks, we will also schedule participation for those who wish to. That is all. Last week, we started our exploration of the variety of ways that different faith traditions celebrate the holy days, because there's a convergence of celebrations around this time of year. We began with the Buddhist celebration of Rohatsu, which concludes today. This is why we left the statue of Buddha up on the stage, even though we are changing direction today and we are learning about Kwanzaa, a Pan-African holiday celebrated by estimates of millions of people through the world African community. Now, this observation begins later in the year, on the day after Christmas, and it concludes on January 1. And at the heart of the celebration is a way to bring African Americans together by celebrating certain principles or values. Now, each family may celebrate Kwanzaa in their own unique way, just like Christian families celebrate Christmas in their own unique way. Typically, on each of the 7 nights of Kwanzaa, family gathers, and if there's a child present, that child will be invited to light one of the 7 candles, followed by a discussion about the principle that it represents, poetry, possibly dancing, possibly music, and most certainly, of course, there's eating. The principles are unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. Now tonight at 7 p.m., the Sunday conversation group is discussing Kwanzaa in more detail, taking the time to unpack all of the symbols and the celebration. And here is a picture of the candelabra carrying the 7 candles. And these are items that were borrowed by our practitioner, Peggy Weber, from one of her friends. And Peggy Weber is inviting all of us tonight to attend in room 7 at 7 p.m. to review that tradition more closely. Now, I want to point out something. Peggy and I are neither Buddhist nor are we African American. So we approach these celebrations with the respect of someone from the outside looking in, with a heart to learn. And nothing could be more science of mind than having a heart to learn. Our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, he was of the opinion that we could learn something from any and all faith traditions, from all philosophies, from the new findings in science. He thought that we were to continue growing and expanding and adapting and evolving. It is said that he himself did not claim that he had found the ultimate answer to life's questions. It is said that he said these words: "This is my revelation, not yours," pointing out that we were to find our own way in the spiritual life. He was encouraging us to keep on seeking and growing ourselves. He said that our teaching, our community, was to always remain open at the top for new insights. I'll let him say it in his own words. The science of mind is not a special revelation of any individual. It is, rather, the culmination of all revelations. We take the good wherever we find it, making it our own insofar as we understand it. The realization that good is universal, and that as much good as any individual is able to incorporate in their life is theirs to use, is what constitutes the science of mind and spirit. And perhaps that's why it is said that he would say, when we are with Christians, we are Christian. And when we are with Buddhists, we are Buddhists, and so on. So that is why we are explorers, like he was. And mind you, in the 1930s, there was no internet when he was forming his ideas about spirituality. There really wasn't much access to other spiritual and cultural traditions like there is today. And my guess is that if he were alive today, he would be even more inclusive, even more expansive, even more curious and exploring. Now we have so much information available to us, it can be overwhelming. It's another reason why I love the Center for Spiritual Living. It's my go-to place to learn about such things as Kwanzaa and Buddhism and mind, and to practice and to expand, to grow and keep the top open. Someone who heard that we were talking about Kwanzaa and science of mind said to me, "Oh, I don't pay any mind to Kwanzaa." I said, "Oh, why is that?" And she said, "Well, it's a completely made-up tradition." Now, I don't seem to have a problem with making up traditions. I'm good with that. It's what we do as humans. We make up ceremonies, we make up traditions and rituals and customs, we make up things. Whether that is to create meaning or it is to create a pattern that helps us remember something over time and pass it on to generations, or whether that is to help us understand something that ordinary words cannot explain, or whether that is to help us cope with chaos. Whatever the reason is, we make up things. Take, for example, the Christmas tradition. There is no biblical imperative for that holiday. It's not mentioned. Now, we have no accurate details for the date of Jesus' birth. And evergreen trees and Yule logs and Santa were not part of his Aramaic culture. Yet we created a tradition to bring to life the idea of a birth, of a new light in the world. A tradition that, like Kwanzaa, gathers family and celebrates goodwill. Ceremony is powerful. Ritual is powerful. It can help us make a quantum leap in understanding. I was remembering a story about a wise healer that lived close to a village on the outskirts. All of the people knew about her skill in healing. And when one of the young men in the village had a tragic accident in his life that caused him to have a broken heart that seemed impossible to heal, they sent him to her for healing. And she sat and listened to what had happened to him and nodded and said, I would heal you, but I don't know if I can because the process is so very complicated. And he said, what is it? She said, well, what it is we need 100 of these rare insects to be gathered in one jar. And the problem is that they all have to be alive. And the problem is that their lifespan is only 12 hours. And nobody's ever been able to do it. So the young man went out on a mission to find these insects. And every time he got some in the jar, the ones at the bottom would die, and on it went. And finally, 6 months later, he came back all in a rush and said, I have them all right now. Don't waste any time. Here they are, all 100 of them. It took a lot of planning and focus and determination. And the healer said, thank you. And she took the jar and took the lid off and emptied them out and said, and how is your heart? At which point he realized it had healed. It's a story about leaps through ceremony and symbol. We respond to ceremony. We respond to pattern. We learn through repetition. And we deepen with structure and practice. Our own science of mind teaching, it's just over 100 years old. We're babies. Very new. And you can be sure we had to make up some customs. We didn't have an ecclesiastical calendar to follow like other faith traditions. We had to make up the way we do things, and we're still at it. Keeping open at the top. That's difficult. To stay open at the top. Especially when you and I find something that we love. Oh, who wants to change that? So I want to take a moment to appreciate you for your patience with me while I have been exploring changes in the order of our service. I was remembering the first time we introduced silence in the service. We had never done that before. We made it up. It was just 1 minute long. Oh, and it was met with such pushback. Oh, my God. And then we grew it over time to a whole 5 minutes. And it became one of the most cherished parts of the service. So when I started to move things around, it created some waves. So I want to let you know how much I appreciate all your kind-hearted feedback. And I want to let you know we're going to change it up again in January. Nothing radical, just some moving things around. You know, it's an ongoing exploration. It may be good. It may be bad. Who's to say? You know that story. In other words, we are trying new ways. Look, we can always go back to the way things were. Except that we can't, really. Have you noticed that the good old days are gone? And the way things were are the way things were. And the brightness of the present moment is filled up with potential and possibility and the birth of new things never yet experienced. Oh, God. Now, we are going to continue our exploration. We've got solstice coming up and Hanukkah and Christmas coming up. But I want to remind you again that Peggy Weber and the Sunday Evening Conversation Group welcome you back tonight at 7 p.m., room 11, to discuss and unpack the rich tradition of Kwanzaa. She's borrowed these symbolic items to go with her discussion, and so it promises to be a great education experience and one that will help us stay open at the top. I invite you now to take a deep breath in with me and to exhale, letting your eyes close for a moment of spiritual practice. I invite every one of us, each according to their own understanding, to take some time to acknowledge the Creator. And with this recognition, I feel my kinship with all life. The life that I am living, that we are living, through that shared reality, which we call the living Spirit Almighty. I sense my kinship with all that is. This allows me to realize that everywhere I go, I am in the presence of the living Spirit. And so I let my heart not be troubled. For now I know and have remembered fully that wherever I go, there I am, in the midst, in the middle, in the presence of the living Spirit, like it is said in the Scripture. In spirit I move, breathe and live and have my entire being. I remember this so that I may realize that with my words and my actions, my thoughts and my opinions, I am shaping my path. And so I covenant with myself and the love that is already in me to walk a more beautiful walk this day, to be open to inspiration and to allow my sense of wholeness that comes from the living Spirit within to establish me in wholeness, so that wherever I go, no matter the chaos of the world that surrounds me, I stand firmly upon the rock of this recognition that love is present here. I rejoice in this awareness, and I'm remembering now to release this word of prayer into that aspect of the divine that we call, so many things. We call it the Holy Spirit or the law of mind. as a reminder to me that no effort is required at all. And together we say, and so it is.